much more
well, one thing as well,
personal things, and
the religious silence though on Christian persecution. We want to talk about that as well. Joe, you have a clip of that kind of segues into that.
Yes, I do, and I'll play it right here.
Well, before we play it, also the fact that lawlessness now reigns in the financial markets. So this, of course, is not news, but we need to address this as well. There's not going to be any charges made in the Goldman Sachs MF Global thing.
Correct.
And also the police state news that you referenced specifically, folks. We want to talk about the Viper teams dispatching now radiation firing body scanner equipment against. Now, this is something that Janet Napolitano denied, yet this is going to take place, and military news as well, all wrapped up, plus your calls at 661-244-9839, and we'll get to your calls in the order in which we receive them, beginning about 8:40 or right about 8:45, about 45 minutes into the program. Perhaps we might have to carry that over to the second hour, depending on the flow of news.
And just a couple more announcements I want to make. On Tuesday, it looks like I will be a guest on Kathy Rubio's new show, Days of Elijah News. That will be from 5 to 7, and I will post a link for that.
That's right.
And keep you updated there. And also, I think on Wednesday, either this Wednesday or next Wednesday, I'll be a guest on the John Larkin show. And I'm not sure if you're going to join me for that or not. We haven't really talked about it, but
you know, folks,
we'll keep you updated on all the appearances.
Yeah, and let's look, folks. We apologize for the crazy shows this week. It's been a crazy week.
Yeah, and we do. I wanted to let you guys know we uploaded the YouTube video from our interview with Augusto Perez. We put the full show up there on YouTube. So go to our channel at Team K9 on YouTube and check out the video that's up there. I keep getting messages in the chat room here about the Marine who was arrested for Facebook posts.
We're going to be getting into that as well.
Yeah, Josh Tolley did an interview with the guy's mother, I think it was, or
Kathleen Thomas, and I have a call into Ms. Thomas. Okay, now she could call. You could hear our office phone ring.
Yeah,
if that rings,
and Mr. Tolley as well. So.
Yes, we could very well, because
and we will be talking about that.
Yeah, indeed. So all of that and more. And again, and if you do want to call into the show, please do so at 661-244-9839. Make sure you press the button so we can see that you have a question there.
Yeah,
and we'll get to you in the order in which the call was received. And
well, let's start with some of the financial news here. We got the European Union. Finland admits that the Eurozone is, going to collapse. They're preparing for the collapse, and they are advising other countries to make contingency plans as well.
Well, yes. Look, we've got 25% unemployment, and this is what people really need to understand. Greece right now is at 25% unemployment, or 24% actual unemployment. Spain as well. You've got Finland. There is going to be a vote on the 12th of September about a European bailout, the bailout of the euro at the hands of Germany. Now, if that does take place and there is a bailout, that's going to extend the misery of the euro for an indefinite period of time, a short but indefinite period of time. And, of course, if that vote goes no, then we're looking at a more imminent collapse of the euro. And when that happens, bang, we're going to see a domino effect coming through, financially.
And this report here from Reuters talks about Merkel, how she says she issued a warning to Greece on Monday, saying that they would not hesitate to veto further aid to the country if there were any signs it was not meeting the conditions of its bailout. And for folks who don't understand what the euro did, it took 12 or 13 sovereign countries and basically put them underneath one umbrella
17, I think,
of unelected bureaucrats. And now it seems countries have control over other countries, and it's just a big mess. It's what they want to do with the North American Union, with Canada and Mexico and the U.S. and there would no longer be a U.S. It would just be the North American territory. And, you know, Mexico could have, you know, a say on our foreign policy, but it'd be all our foreign policy.
You know, yes, it's not going to be a good thing when it does happen. And I was talking, again, and I mentioned this yesterday briefly, but I want to expand on this a little bit. Talking with attorney Billy Bear from the Bear Haggerty Offensive, Attorney Bear, and I said, you know, Attorney Bear, I mean, what do you see? Because he talks to people like as we do, but some of his people are a little bit different. He talks to financial people. He's talked to Gerald Celente and a number of other people. And of course, you know, folks recall what Gerald Celente says. You know, you've got trade wars, you got currency wars, and actual wars. This is what's taking place right now. And the war, by the way, with Iran, and I think that we were talking about this earlier, trying to assess where Iran fits into everything.
There was more remarks made today by Ahmadinejad and Hezbollah calling for the destruction of Israel.
That's correct.
From Hezbollah and from Ahmadinejad saying Iran is a tumor or a cancer that must be removed.
Yep.
And as we continue to see, like I said, every week, every couple of days, you see these articles. You know, Iran, war with Iran, Iran threatening Israel, Israel preparing for war, Israel, you know, talking with the U.S. in preparations for war.
That's right.
It's the conditioning.
And that's one thing that we have to address. Okay, now, are we, okay, we have to look at this in the largest sense and evaluate this, because we really have to understand what's taking place. Because is this war perhaps going to be a cover for the financial collapse? We know that if a financial collapse, look, we know the financial health of the globe is bad. There's no way out. Mathematically, there is absolutely no way out.
$16+ trillion in debt on the books here in the U.S.
Right. Much
more than that. But it's not, I mean, the debt is not real. We wouldn't have to pay the debt back if we didn't have a Federal Reserve. That's a whole other issue. But yes, the debt that we have on the books, unsustainable in America.
That's
the
correct.
Debt in the euro, their situation is unsustainable. And it looks like, well, we played the audio of Henry Kissinger, or the video of Henry Kissinger yesterday talking about the fall of America, the rise of China and Asia.
That's right.
This is what they're doing. They are, you know, they've probably had this in part of their plans is slowly, you know, make these free trade agreements and, you know, get the UN established and a major part of global foreign policy, and then they have the ability to take resources, jobs, and things from the U.S. and transfer them to China just because they have the money, and they're doing this on purpose to destabilize the United States and the Western governments so we can fall in line under this New World Order.
Yeah, now the other side to this, okay, as I mentioned, you've got the financial aspect, the global financial aspect, and this pending, impending, imminent, it seems, war in the Middle East. One has to ask the question, will America forsake Israel? We know, look, we believe with reasonable degree of certainty, based on the rhetoric being ratcheted up, that there's going to be a war in the Middle East. And when that war happens between Iran and Israel, or the United States, Israel, and Iran, or any combination thereof, that's going to set off World War III. Now, here's a question that we've been addressing. Is America going to forsake Israel? Because we know that the Israel-Iran countdown has already begun. Tehran's nuclear race, you know, with respect to that nuclear race we are witnessing. Look, this is the greatest crisis in U.S.-Israel relations we've seen in a long, long time. In fact, I believe ever since Israel became a nation state. Now, is America going to help Israel? Can Israel trust the word of our current regime that has treated Jerusalem, specifically Jerusalem, like a, pardon the expression, like a redheaded stepchild? you know, and Israel itself like a banana republic. Now, I don't know, about a week ago, Israel officials told a newspaper, in the Middle East newspaper, that the U.S. stands as pushing the Iranians to become a country at the brink of nuclear capability. Now, think about that. We are actually ushering this in by our policies. Very few people in Israel believe, by the way, that the United States will even launch another preemptive war against the mullahs over there, the ayatollahs. Now,
and you said, you know, the preemptive.
Preemptive. Okay. Barack, the U.S., especially if Obama gets the re-election, is going to be more tempted, we believe, to reach some sort of compromise, some level of appeasement, acquiescence with the Iranians. Now, is that a bad thing? Well, I think it's a bad thing when you've got the Iranian mullahs and the leadership over there threatening to wipe out Israel, as you mentioned, being treated like a cancer. Now, Israel is dependent on us for economic, military, and diplomatic support. So far, the diplomatic support is absent.
Yeah.
Military support, and economic support, barely. So the American, look, we as taxpayers, folks, we fund Israel to the tune of about 20 to 25% of Israel's defense budget. Okay, Israel is the largest recipient by far of American aid since World War II. That's where we're at with this.
They are? They've been the largest recipient?
Yeah. Okay, so think about this. 20 to 25% of Israel's military budget comes from the United States. Israel is required to use a portion of that aid to buy. Okay, it's kind of convoluted when you think about this. 20 to 25% we give them. Now, we give it to them, okay, but now out of that 20 to 25%, they're required to use a portion of that money to buy from U.S. defense contractors and the defense establishment, but no other country. And certainly not any European country provides weapons needed to protect Israel as we do. So the United States has, you know, look, we've in fact at the UN talk about the diplomatic aspect of things with the United Nations. We have cast over 40 vetoes to protect Israel within the United Nations Security Council. The United Nations Security Council is very anti-Semitic, is very pro-Muslim. They're very pro-Muslim. Think about the Organization of Islamic Conference, the Organization of Islamic States, the Muslim influence into the United Nations. This is what we have. But that's a quid pro quo for the support. Now, but there's a limit to what, you know, to even that degree, what of dependence. I mean, there's a limit to that. The current Iranian nuclear race it's very clear, and it's clear that the U.S. can and perhaps might forsake Israel. Now, I wrote about this in late 2008. According to our source at DHS, they're saying, look, we are not going to. We're not only going to not support Israel, we're going to turn against them. Now, at the time, I thought, wow, that's a pretty heavy statement. Now, think about that. In 2008, we weren't at this position. Now, and think about this. Think about the history, I guess. And again, a lot of this, you know, Joe and I were talking about, and he pointed out as well through his research that the presidents after Israel was initially established, we had Truman, Eisenhower, and of course Kennedy and Johnson. They virtually had given nothing, with the exception of Truman, maybe. They had really given very little to Israel, and that's at the time in the Truman era. That's at the time when the Holocaust was fresh in the minds of people. You know, it's tremendous. Now,
I don't mean to butt in here, but no, I feel like I'm a fifth grader in a 12th grade math class because my knowledge of things pre-1999 really when it comes to policy, I'm only 29. Israel has not been a nation for almost 2,000 years. It becomes a nation in 1948, And, you know, learning about that growing up, about the prophecies in the Bible, about what it said about Israel, and, you know, and I've been thinking about this, like how crazy it is that we are in these times now. And, you know, to think that Israel from, what was it, 71 A.D. or 70 A.D.?
Well, yeah.
Until 1948.
1948, May 17th.
They were not a country. And now they're,
that's right.
You know, not only are they a country, they are a very powerful country.
And well, very powerful, but, you know, it's interesting
but
because
they're still vulnerable.
Because, oh, yeah, and they were given much more land by mandate than they have today. Yeah. And they're supposed to have more land, and we're supposed to protect them.
And
I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be.
I want to just clarify.
I do feel like a fifth, you know.
Yeah.
I do too. It's rough.
And when I say they're more vulnerable, I know that they have the backing of the Lord. The Lord made Israel, and that's His special land. You know, whether the government's corrupt or, you know, whatever, that's a different story. But that land is the, you know, most valuable piece of land on this earth. It has the most significance. And yet people who deny that it is valuable are the people who want it the most, you know.
Exactly. And I'll say this, that excuse me, the Muslims have no historic or religious claim to any part of Jerusalem. If the United States under Hillary Clinton today, they want to divide Jerusalem. They want the division of Jerusalem. Yeah. And God said, look, you divide Jerusalem, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I mean, obviously he didn't, you know, I'm just, I would paraphrasing perhaps. But here's the thing. Here's what's going on. If you look back at recent history, and this is what got us to this point. If you look back, again, you don't even have to go back to Truman. Just look at Lyndon Johnson. Okay, well, no, you know what? Forget about that. Let's go to the Bush Senior, Bush 1 in 1992. Bush with Baker in tow, basically just outright humiliated Israel by giving them essentially an ultimatum. It's either you know, settlements or loans. You decide. And it's kind of funny because, not funny, but it's sad because Bush was called, and perhaps was one of the most anti-Semitic, Bush Senior, anti-Semitic presidents that we've had. The U.S. post-Gulf Wars settlement included our efforts to dislodge Israel, and it's pretty. Look, folks, there's a lot of history there. We need to really understand, and we really need to support Israel, the nation, and the people of Israel. We really do.
Right. We need to support what God wants for Israel.
That's right.
We also need to support, you know, Israel as a nation now on earth, because it is being attacked from all sides. It is being attacked, you know, by, you see the Arab Spring. Each country that has been overthrown has been replaced by governments that are now hostile and threatening towards Israel, making it, as we have spoken about before, Mubarak was president of Egypt. The southern border of Israel and Egypt meet, and it was relatively, there was one major incident there, I think in 1979 or.
Well, I mean, you had the wars. Yes, there was a war, but.
And it's not just Israel too. It's also Christians in the area. You know, they were safe under Gaddafi and under Mubarak and under Assad relatively. Now they are being massacred.
That's right. No one's talking about that.
Right.
No one's talking about the massacre of Christians taking place right today under the direct command of Morsi. And folks, the reason we're mentioning all of this is because this is really the nugget, the germination of the extermination of not only the Jewish people, but of the war against the Christians. Christians are being massacred, and this is one of the points I mentioned. There's religious silence on the Christian persecution. Who's speaking out? Tell me one church, perhaps aside from Pastor Paul Begley's
I was
church.
just going to say.
Tell me one church where you hear the objections of the religious persecution in Egypt, in countries like Tunisia and other countries as a direct result, and this is a direct result of the Arab Spring.
Yeah, it is.
People wait. The Arab Spring is a good thing.
It's freedom.
No,
it's freedom.
Not freedom.
It's freedom from genocidal governments.
Well,
no, that's not the case because
it's not the case.
You know, there was, and to the best of our knowledge and research, there was not genocide taking place. Well, what it was protests that were even further, and I could even get this documented or get the documentation that the you know, rebels and people, agitators and distractors inside of certain factions of the government would fire on protesters to start this. You know, it was not like, and they would report it like they were getting orders from Assad. You know, Assad orders his his military to shoot on protesters, and Gaddafi killing protesters in Libya. We saw all these reports about how many these protesters were being killed in Libya, but yet I think there was like a total of 15. Maybe a little bit more.
Not today. Not today. You compare that to Christians, you know, the Christianity. Believe me, it is.
No, I know
it's out of whack. So, but yeah,
we're gonna play this clip about Goldman Sachs here, and then I think we're gonna take a call.
Wait a second. You mean the religious persecution or the mocking of the Bible?
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
I'm sorry. I think go ahead. And folks,
this is Obama, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this.
At its core now, and think about what we just said about the religious persecution, the silence from the pulpits, and Israel, Judeo-Christian values, and now listen to Obama. And I'm sure you've heard this, but this is a compilation. Go ahead and play that, Joe.
Okay.
In April, Barack Obama insulted small-town Americans, saying they're bitter and cling to their guns and religion. It wasn't the first time Senator Obama insulted Americans of faith. In 2006, Obama mocked and ridiculed the books of Leviticus, Deuteronomy, even laughing at the Sermon on the Mount, taking those passages painfully out of context.
Should we go with Leviticus, which suggests slavery is okay? Or we could go with Deuteronomy, which suggests stoning your child? Or should we just stick to the Sermon on the Mount? A passage that is so radical that it's doubtful that our own Defense Department would survive its application.
Then Senator Obama had this to say.
Folks haven't been reading the Bible.
Condescendingly implying that Americans don't know what's in there. The real question is, Senator, do you know what's in there?
Help air this ad on TV as often as possible. Donate at phforamerica.com. Paid for by phforamerica.com.
Now, that's an example, and I think a pretty doggone good example about about how Obama feels about Christianity. I think that it's telegraphed there.
Yeah, I mean,
telegraphed. You know,
he you know, very almost in the way I received it when you watch his body language and you hear his words, almost like he was trying to provoke the Lord. Like, you know, and I could be wrong, but
you know,
I don't he said it provokingly, and not to get them to the people. I don't think. Almost like, you know, how about this, God? You know, I can take your words, and
I took that to mean that too when I first heard that.
And people understand that we are under a new covenant. We follow the laws of the Old Testament.
That's right.
The Ten Commandments. Just some of the ways, you know, we live. I mean, they back then had a whole bunch of different laws and standards.
I think the Jews have 613 commandments, but I got to tell you, think about the weight, the gravity of an American president saying what he said, and I don't care if what he said, if he said it when he was not yet president or if he was president if afterwards, but think about the gravity of what he said.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, could you imagine, just for example, George Bush saying something like that,
or how about Romney saying about something about the Quran?
And it's how screwed up it is. Places like MSNBC, who despise religion, would come out and defend it because George Bush was talking bad about it. Yet, I mean, this is how they spin it.
Exactly.
But we're going to take some calls.
Yeah, we were going to move to correct. Let's go to the phones. We have. I think we might have an international caller. I don't want to keep them on hold, or at least
Yeah, and I don't know what the area code is, but we're just going to go to here. Caller, I think you're in another country. You're on with the Hagmann Report.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello? Hi.
Hey, that's you.
You're on the air with Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Okay, right. What is, in view of the speculation of a false flag at Olympics, I'm wondering, do you think it's possible that they've already done something like released a plague, something like Ebola or worse? Because it would be, going on, if you recall the film 28 Days with Danny Boyle?
Yes, yes.
Now, I'm just wondering if they've already done something covertly. Does that make sense?
Indeed it does.
And now, all the runners and all the people attending there would then go back to their countries and possibly spread that.
Okay, caller, can I ask, are you calling from the United Kingdom?
Yeah, I'm from Wales.
Okay.
South Wales in Britain.
Okay. First of all, thank you for listening and thank you for calling in. But I think, you are probably, you could be onto something, because there have been discussions about certain biological, the potential for biological releases. And this would provide the globalist eugenicists with the opportunity to release something. And then, how many countries were involved in the Olympics? All the countries, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what a perfect, you're exactly correct. There could be a latency period of perhaps 30, 60, 90 days. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you very
on the one of the symbols they had was like a massive orange, like virus-looking thing. Which, if you look at microscopic views of viruses, it could be any of the viruses.
That's right.
But this almost looks like a cross between various viruses. And I just wonder if they mixed something up with a delayed reaction, and then they're just going to bide their time.
Well,
it does worry me, because I truly believe when you see the original opening of the Olympics with all the children that were in the sick beds and the nurses.
Yeah.
It's like they're all dying or something.
No, wait. What you're making a reference about the sick beds and children? What's that reference? I'm not sure I understand that.
That was the opening ceremony. But they had two ceremonies. They had obviously the opening ceremony, and then they had the final ceremony of the Olympics. But on the opening ceremony, they showed children in sick beds with Mary Poppins and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just wondering if because if you actually watch the final ceremony, there was a hell of a lot of fireworks, a lot of smoke and gas going about. And I'm wondering if they just infuse something into that, and then people now will learn down the road that this thing's going to spread worldwide. If it does do that, they've got their plan to destroy humanity.
Yeah, and you make a good point, because we see it in the things that are in the vaccines, we'll say. We see complications from vaccines, and some people argue that it's not just the vaccines, but something like chemtrails or other chemicals or products trigger some of those effects. And we know that they have been manipulating the H1N1 to all kinds of different mutated strands, some not even curable. And we know that they could do what you're saying, and which would be, a smart way for them to do it would be to release something that would not take effect for X amount of days, weeks, or months.
Now, caller, have you seen, well, let me rephrase that. do you feel that this is, in fact, obviously you feel that this could be a possibility, but how likely do you think that this could, how likely do you think that this is? Obviously, you sound like you're pretty well reasoned, a pretty well reasoned individual, and you've got your finger on what's going on. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
listen. I'm really thinking they've gone for it this time, and there's an awful lot of reasons. I mean, if you Prince Philip, who's I think he's close to the end of his life. If you recall what he said in his book.
Yeah, I do know it. Yeah.
But, I mean, what timing would that be? I mean, that would just be hitting a nail on the head,
I'm sorry to interrupt what you were saying. Are you referring to Prince Philip saying when he dies he hopes he comes back as a virus so he could wipe out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what he said.
Well, and we feel that aside from the satanic nature, the satanic symbolism of the Olympics, we do believe that that was the beginning of something. Now, we don't know exactly what, but that you bring this up, and I got to tell you, it's not too far off the mark from what not a lot, but what some people are saying.
And Rick Wilds commented on this, and I think he did an excellent job at laying this out, the openness of the Illuminati and satanic rituals happening at the Super Bowls, at the opening and closing ceremonies of the London Olympics. And even that being, they're conjuring up the evil, they're, putting on these massive shows and rituals to Satan, obviously not to God, to bring about more. Sorry.
I thought it was completely shocking. Now, what's really, to be honest, it got me down, right? Now, a lot of people who watch these ceremonies think, oh, it's great fun. But I don't think they get it. You see, if you see George Michael, and he's got this skull around his belt, and then they've got these phoenix coming down, and then little messages saying that if you don't love London, you don't love life. I mean, did you see that, like newspaper clippings?
Yes.
To be honest, I've had nightmares. After I watched that, I've had some nightmares which I've never had in my life.
Really?
Wow. I've had I reckon they're trying to open the gates of hell up myself. I listen to Steve Quayle a lot, and he knows what he's saying, and I've cried. I cried over what I'm seeing, because people go around and they think there's nothing wrong, and they don't get it. I think we're in a lot of trouble, and this thing's going to come to fruition, and people are going to have a shock, and as Steve Quayle says, men's hearts will fail. And I can believe that.
Well, we really appreciate your compassion, and
indeed.
So many people lack, like we talk about the normalcy bias. If it's not affecting them, they're not worried by it, and that's what what bothers us a lot too. But it's refreshing to hear someone like you, concerned for others, even though they're not even, concerned for you or themselves. And we need more people like you that have these virtues of compassion and patience and
caller, people. Caller, let me ask you, and I know it's late or early depending on whether you're a morning or evening person, but what do you see happening where you live? Do you see people going about their business as if, and I take it that this is what you've already kind of conveyed, that, hey, everything is normal. There's no problem.
Yeah. They go around, so there's nothing wrong, And listen, we seem to get this dark orange cloud keep coming over us, like there's like a darkness. Now, we've got some really nasty statues in our town which depict death and doves, and there's a globe thing. And I know this town is satanic. This is Newport-Gwent. I know we're being run by I don't know what. And, you know, it's not nice. There's a feeling about the place. There's a lot of violence here. That, you know, it's just an very unpleasant place. I mean, I live in an area where I won't go out after a certain time. To down the road, I just won't, because I got robbed once. But, you know, this place is, there's a feel. Now, I listen to Russ Sister, and he says about that, if you get a feel, that I think there's a lot of devil activity around here. And people running around like there's no problem. Well, I think they're going to get a shock.
I think you're right, and thank you for having that spiritual discernment and walking. You know, you've got to have that discernment to understand that there is evil out there. Well, you
it's
know,
not going away.
You know, and you know that you know. So I think there's a lot of prayer that's going to have to be. We are going to have to pray, and we are going to have to pray that this is not.
Continue to spread that at the rate it is. Yeah,
it's just amazing, caller. I'll tell you something. Where you're at too. You know, you are at ground zero for the global financial collapse, if you will.
I'm glad you brought that up, caller. If you don't mind me asking, I don't know how much Western or American media you see. What's it like in the Eurozone? What kind of problems are we seeing related to the Euro crisis?
Are we not seeing over here?
Well, I would say we're pretty much going to, I would suspect the banks will collapse just very quickly. The people are going to lose their money. You know, it could take like a while, but I just think that something's going to happen. And everybody will suddenly realize, oh, God, it's me now. You know, I've been all right. They're running around. It's me. The bank's taking my money. And then they'll start rioting and that sort of stuff.
Right.
That's how I feel. I think there will be an imminent collapse. And that people will be shocked. It's worse to come, I think, than just financial collapse.
Well, no, there is. You are correct. Before we cut you loose on this call, do you have anything else on your mind that you want to share?
Well, just thank you guys for the work you do. Thanks, Steve Quayle.
Will do.
God bless you both.
God bless you. God bless you as well, all the way from Wales. What a great call, Joe. That's I'm telling you, people are listening, and I love, I love the fact that people are knowing. It's
refreshing to hear.
People are waking up, and yes, and people accuse us. I got a couple of emails say, all you talk about is doom. All this is doom. Well, obviously you're not listening to what our message is because it's a message of hope as well. You know,
we have a solution to the doom.
Pray, repent.
We have a solution to all the doom, and it's not our. I mean, it's
not
the
our
Lord's solution, right? Where we don't have to. I mean, we can. We live on this earth for however long of a time we're supposed to be here. And after we, die, you either go to heaven or hell after Judgment Day. Now, where you spend eternity is based on what your actions are on earth. Now, so many people, I mean, we know life goes so fast, and people just let it slip away. You get preoccupied with your own desires, things you like, your you know, whatever it is, music, entertainment, TV, you get your daily grind, work, and yeah, and then you stop caring about what's going on around you.
But Joe, going back a little bit, stepping back just one second here, I do want to get what others feel about that caller from overseas. What his I'm interested to find out what you think about the possibility. You know, the Olympics came, they went, there was the satanic symbolism there. We know the agenda of the globalists, of the illuminists, the people who want to really to thin the herd, you know, to really cull the population. Hey, could this have happened? Could this have taken place? Is this a possibility, or are we just Looney Tunes? I don't think we're exactly Looney Tunes. I think that there might be something to this, and perhaps, you know, there could have been a beta test or whatever. Now, Joe, you passed me a note here. Do we have something going on that we need to do?
We have a caller. Eric is calling in. We're going to go to him now.
Let's talk to Eric, because you told me about this before the program, that this gentleman was going to be calling in.
No, that's not the same one.
Okay.
But Eric, you are on the air. How's it going, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. How's everybody?
Very well,
Excellent.
thank you. What's on your mind?
I just have a couple of things. I talked to a few of my friends that are in the military.
Yes.
And they were talking about some thing that they have on their, I think you said it was their pay stub now or something, where it says police pay or law enforcement pay now.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys heard anything about that.
No, now you're saying on military pay stubs?
National Guard military pay.
And
okay, now tell us exactly what it says on their pay stubs. Do you know?
From what he told me, I can't remember if he said it was police pay or law enforcement pay, and he's not law enforcement pay.
Right.
He doesn't do any kind of MP work or anything like that.
Was there an amount with that, or I mean, in other words, was that like a box with a number next to it?
There's a box there. It's a new box that they have. You know how they break down certain things on their paycheck, or in what area of training or whatever they get paid for. It'll show up on their pay stub.
Okay, now this is critically important. All right, this observation, to me, this is a critical observation, because we know that they are setting up the infrastructure to use our soldiers for law enforcement / you know, incarceration purposes. They're training them over there. So what you're saying now it's on paper, and it's ready to go. Ready to go.
Yep.
Oh, what are they saying about that? Like, for example, the people in the military. What are they saying? Are they questioning this, or?
He is to a certain degree and stuff. I don't want anything that you know, happen to him with all the stuff that's been going on with other military personnel getting arrested and stuff like that. But I didn't want to ask him too much questions on the fact that he might, you know, somehow get in trouble. But
right.
There's the people he knows and the unit that he's with and stuff like that. They're not going to go against us. They're going to walk out. I have family members that are saying the same exact thing. They're as soon as they get that order where they have to take our guns away, they're walking off.
Just a question. I don't know if you got this far with them or discussed this, but when these people decide to walk off, say they're called in together, you know, a whole a platoon or a whole group together, and they're given these orders. Are these soldiers just going to turn and walk away, you know, from the rest of the soldiers who are going to go carry out the orders? Or will they be allowed to walk away? Or are they going to be stopped from walking away? Yeah.
And are they going to try to stop others? Or
I mean, would it turn into a firefight?
That's pretty much what I asked them, too, and we didn't really get too much further than that because I think we didn't really want to talk too much about that because I think it made them think.
Yeah, and it's very unpredictable, too, you know.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything else military-wise, any other information you feel that you can share with us?
No, that he's still getting more information and everything for me, and I'll be passing it on to you guys.
Okay, Eric.
I get all kinds of stuff from them. So,
any word about what's your take on the military patrolling the streets of our country? What's the military people saying about that?
They're pretty upset about it. They don't like the fact that this is happening at all. And like I said, and it's usually the older ones, the more senior, not senior, but the old timers that's been in longer than the new kids.
Right. The ones that know pretty much. Are you seeing, or are they seeing this new breed of soldier that is, well, I don't want, I want to be very careful how the words I use here, but it seems like the new breed of soldier, almost
a lot of arrogance.
Yes, thank you. Arrogance, the attitude, the bully type.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Is there an increase in that now, or?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The violent and aggressive nature, and people know what these kinds of people are like. Very, usually loud and arrogant, very forceful, aggressive, in situations that don't warrant it.
Well, what about orders? Are you familiar with any orders, current orders now for any deployment here in the United States?
Not that I'm aware of. He's not high enough on the food chain to know any of that. But he does have some higher ups that he's friends with and stuff like that, and he's going to try to find out.
Okay.
Without putting him or others in any kind of situation.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you can, you can get it to us in a manner that we certainly will not disclose who you are or where it came from, but we would like to be on the receiving end of any information of any deployment orders here. Even talk of that, let us know, because it seems like our military contacts are constantly evolving. It's kind of a strange situation. I've never seen anything quite like this right now. So, but
yeah, he's even seen the opposite side of the aggression too, where they're whiny, they're babyish, and they kind of complain about every single thing that goes on, like order-wise or mistreatment. I don't want to say olden times, but when you're given an order or how they act in the military, they're joking around or whatever. And nowadays you can't do that. They're more to I don't know how to say complain about it,
right,
and get the person rode up or whatever.
Yeah, it's a different environment. I mean, we've got now the general's accommodation. I heard Rick Wiles recently say, the policy of perversion. When you've got
sensitive. That's what I was looking for. To be a little more sensitive to your.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a kumbaya type situation, and now with what Obama has done with perverted our military by the allowances of these hedonistic policies. Hey, you've got General Tammy Smith, marrying her girlfriend in Arlington, in an act of blasphemy, military blasphemy. I'm sure people in the military can't be really happy about stuff like this.
No.
But, well, look, keep in touch with us, and certainly give us the information as you get it, and we will pass it along to our listeners, and we'll keep it quiet as to where it comes from.
Yeah, and thanks for all the information you and the contributing in the chat room. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric. And we really, we appreciate you immensely. God bless. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on, I'll put you back on.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Eric, I cut you off.
No problem. have you guys heard anything about the emergency broadcast system? I've been hearing a lot of people saying that it's been going off like 4 or 5 times a week, and I couldn't really find any information other than glitches.
We have not. I have not seen or heard anything. I also don't own a TV, so I don't know.
We haven't. I have asked about the status of the EAS as well as the status of the presidential applications on the Androids. I've been watching this really close. We have had nothing to date definitive about this, so we don't know. No, we haven't heard anything yet about this.
Okay.
So, but we're keeping our eyes on that. Good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Well, God bless you guys. And when I first heard you guys on Alex+Jones, I'm so glad that I got to see you guys on there, because I like Alex+Jones a lot, but Christian base and everything that you guys have, it's awesome. And I love all of my Christian friends that I have here in the chat, and God bless you all.
God bless you.
Thank
too,
you.
And we're proud. We are so proud and humbled to be, and thanks, Eric. We're so proud and humbled to be part of this Christian family.
Yeah.
And I want to just take a moment here. We're getting close to the top of the hour. Before we take another call, I just want to just take a moment, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, and please understand this from the bottom of our hearts. Those who have supported us, those who have given prayer, those who have contributed money to keep us on the air, those who have told others about the program,
time, ideas,
and, and those who have spent the time to sit there at their typewriter. I know this. I know it takes a lot of time. It takes time. If you care enough to sit and even if it's a criticism, which is okay. But you sit there and you type an email to us. We respect that, and we're very humbled by that. And we will do our best to, for example, if it's a suggestion or criticism, we read everything. Sometimes, and of late, we've been getting so many emails. It's been so difficult to get. I am actually about 2 weeks behind in responses. Forgive me for that, okay? But we're humbled by you folks out there. We are so appreciative of the financial support. Ladies and gentlemen, if it weren't for that, and I mean this, if it weren't for that, there's just no way we could continue with what we're doing, because it is such a, we were naive. We were really naive when we decided to go on our own and decided to do what we were going to do.
To the point where naive about, coming from the Saturday show to doing it every night a week,
right.
And then the work that entails, doing a show every day.
And then the costs.
It is, but it's all worth it. I mean,
yes.
If I had to, I'd work 2 jobs just to be able to do it, because it's about helping people.
That's
and
right.
And that's what we're here for, and it doesn't matter. We're not going anywhere unless they take us away, or
which is a possibility.
All the abilities away for us to get to you, communicate to you, they take those away.
But we want to thank everyone, and if you haven't received a personal thank you email from me yet, you will. Just from the bottom of my heart, please understand how much it means, the contributions and the prayers and everything.
Yeah, and I want to say this. We have an interactive chat room. I know a lot of people listen to this on archives.
That's right.
I know a lot of people aren't around, who listen to this when we're on live. But if you do listen live, and you're not part of the interactive chat room, make a profile on BTR. I think you get a name, put a name and an email, your name and email address. You can make a screen name. Join the interactive chat. I mean, this is like one of the best highlights of the show for me, is to see everybody in the chat. It's a fellowship, really, and everybody in here looks out for each other. They share the common love of Jesus, and it's a great place to be, meet people, and to interact with like-minded people. And the people in the chat are wonderful, and again, we can't thank you enough.
Callers on hold, please
stay there.
Stay with us. We do have to take a hard break here at the top of the hour. It's going to be about 2.5 minutes. We're going to be back right after these messages. Please stay with us. And again, thank you so very much for your participation and for listening. But hang in there. We'll go back to our calls right after this.
If you're stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines, you just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Aileta Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Doug Hagmann, one guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this Friday, August 17th edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. My name is Joe Hagmann. My co-host is Doug Hagmann. We are the premier father and son radio show on the internet. You can find us at Blog Talk Radio or the video stream at Cuban, the Christian United Broadcasting Network.
Right. And we want to thank Troy, by the way, for all he does. And if you want to watch us, For what it's worth, folks, and I believe there's a chat room there, right, too?
Yes, there is.
Okay, Homeland Security US, the #1.tk, and there you can watch us make insane arm gestures like this.
Yes.
But, anyway.
Getting into some news, because there's a lot of stuff we didn't cover still on the financial.
This is important.
First of all,
and we will come back with your calls, but this is important, folks. Listen to this.
No one will be charged with a crime for the MF Global collapse. Authorities wound down their criminal investigation into the failed brokerage firm MF Global.
That's right.
They say despite the lack of oversight and the loss of more than $1 billion in customer funds, it now seems unlikely that anyone at the firm will face criminal charges. Now, we know that John Corzine was the head of MF Global at the time of this theft, former governor of New Jersey, and also, what did he do? He worked for...
he was a senator of New Jersey.
Okay.
He was a governor.
Yeah.
And don't forget Lisa Jackson Perez, who is now head of the Environmental Protection Agency, was going to be his chief of staff, but that was cut short. But she has a relationship with him. And
to make a long story short with this, John Corzine, basically, it came out that he was the one that ordered the money to be transferred out of the accounts. It was the Congress had that evidence and information, and so did the Department of Justice. And yet, since Corzine has helped Obama raise over $500,000 or more in this presidential election, he is staying out of prison. On a similar note, this out of the Rolling Stones, Eric Holder has no cojones.
Yeah, we can't say what the Rolling... Is that from Matt Taibbi? Or
yes, Matt Taibbi.
Okay, yeah.
It says he has made a decision, his predictable decision, Eric Holder, not to pursue criminal charges against Goldman Sachs for any of its activities in the report prepared by Senators Carl Levin and Tom Corbin 2 years ago. And we have a Fox News audio clip on...
folks, hang on to your...
Here we go.
Airline barf bag close? Seriously.
List of corporations and individuals who will not face criminal charges growing out of the financial meltdown got bigger late Thursday. The latest firm to escape prosecution, Goldman Sachs. Our chief congressional correspondent, Mike Emanuel, on the decision.
After the Justice Department announced its more than 1-year investigation looking into the causes of the financial meltdown would not lead to criminal prosecution of Goldman Sachs or its employees, the firm expressed a sigh of relief. Quote, "We are pleased that this matter is behind us." The Justice investigation was prompted by a bipartisan Senate report by Democrat Carl Levin and Republican Tom Coburn. That probe found Goldman marketed 4 sets of complex mortgage securities to banks and other investors and didn't tell clients they were risky. Investigators also said Goldman secretly bet against its investors.
The report tells the inside story of an economic assault that cost millions of Americans their jobs and their homes while wiping out investors, good businesses, and markets.
Coburn did not comment on DOJ's decision, but Levin blasted Goldman in a statement. Quote, "Its actions did immense harm to its clients and helped create the financial crisis that nearly plunged us into a second Great Depression." At the White House, Press Secretary Jay Carney ducked a question.
I would have to refer you to the Justice Department, and I have not spoken to the President about this. He's very focused on taking measures that assist homeowners.
Goldman has paid a price in terms of a $550 million fine to settle with the SEC, and its stock price and reputation were damaged. Analysts say there have been lessons learned.
The market plus the regulators combined make it very unlikely that this kind of behavior will happen again anytime soon.
And Haynes says DOJ was smart in not prosecuting if they felt they lacked a strong case after recent high-profile failures with John Edwards and Roger Clemens. John?
Yeah, they were 0-2, going 0-3, particularly on Goldman Sachs, would not look good. List of corporations and individuals who...
All right. That was a report at Fox News. So, despite the overwhelming amount of evidence pointing and showing the wreckage and problems that Goldman Sachs had with the financial collapse, their dealings that led to the financial collapse. They were part of it. You know, they will not be prosecuted.
Well, here's the key thing. The bipartisan investigation, the bipartisan report.
Yeah.
So if anything, folks, if nothing else, it's two sides of the same coin. Where are we, you know, if it's a merely a democratic, if this was just about politics, as people like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow on the left would say, and Chris Matthews and Lawrence O'Donnell, you know, if it was just about politics, then there would be more yelling and screaming for really criminal accountability on the part of Corzine, on the part of Goldman Sachs, but there's not. So what does that tell us? That tells us that, look, we're dealing with one entity. The right-left paradigm no longer exists. And I think that was probably one of the most enlightening reports to illustrate that we're finished. It's over.
Yep.
That it's an illusion. It's a dog and pony show.
Yep. We have more economic evidence, or one more economic story. We're going right to the phones after this because we got a lot of people on hold. This is, I posted this in the chat room. I'll do it again. Startling evidence that central banks and Wall Street insiders are rapidly preparing for something big.
We opened up with this, and folks, pay attention to this.
Why is George Soros selling so much stock and buying so much gold? Same thing with billionaire
John Paulson.
Now, central banks before 2009 till now have increased their holdings in gold almost 70%. I wonder where that came from, Libya, Egypt, but no.
Yeah, 44 metric tons out of Libya. Where did that gold go?
Right, and why are they stocking up on this gold at the rate they are? Do they know something we don't? This is what this article goes on, you know, to talk about. It's a long article. I'm not going to get into too much of it, but it talks about the ammunition. It goes into why there is so much insider trading, and now the insiders are getting out of their stocks. Even
they
people
have to.
Who have businesses who own the stock are selling their stocks off because it seems like, you know, people know there is some kind of collapse or deflation coming, and it just says that, you know, if you look at the trends of all these high-profile traders, all these at the people, they are dumping stocks, and there's also lots of people have been resigning in the financial world from different countries all across the world in high-level positions in high-level companies from all countries. There's been resignations. I mean, an extra long list, you know, a lot more than there would be in an average time period. We'll say a year. You have maybe 500 resignations across the world of high-level company insiders. Now, you know, you got, you know, double, triple that amount. So you see, you know, people are leaving, the money's leaving, people are selling off.
Well, one thing this article did state, and I think that it's important, really a great comparison. Think about what happened to Facebook. I mean, just about everybody who's paying attention to the financial markets know that Facebook originally started out, the IPO, initial purchase option for Facebook, was really high.
Yeah, it was 47, 48.
I don't know. Now it's just like it tanked. What we're seeing, I mean, compare what we're seeing now, the financial stock market, the volatility. Compare that. Use Facebook as like a microcosm of the larger financial part. And I was told by some, and folks, let me share this with you. I'm developing or attempting to develop. Not that I want to be like Ulsterman, but you know, it'd be nice to have some financial insiders helping, you know, giving me some good inside information, giving us some good inside information. But there is one individual who is on the inside of the financial markets who said something, and then all of a sudden, she kind of, and this was during a telephone conversation that we had about something totally different. And I asked him, and in fact, I shared this with Joe, and we were just looking at each other like, holy cow, we know what's going on. But think about this, the gold factor. Okay, people want you, okay, you buy gold, and I think it's a good idea if you can afford it. Me, no. The only gold I've got is silver. I got a 10-karat gold wedding ring. Okay, but boy, that's more important to me than anything. But having said that, if you would buy silver or gold, and this is what this gentleman from I'll call the financial insider said. Consider this. Consider an excise or a capital gains tax on precious metals. Consider a tax, an oppressive tax, to prevent you, the holder of gold or the holder of silver, from actually trading that.
So what you're saying is that there would be if you decide to trade or buy or sell gold or silver, even to collect yourself, you would be paying
like 80% tax.
So you'd be paying basically like double the price, something with your example.
Well, it would, like anything else, like the tax you would have to deduct that from the value. So instead of, we'll say silver at some point reaches $100. I mean, I'll use round figures. Silver $100 an ounce. If you want to sell an ounce of silver, for example, you'd have to pay, if you want to buy sell
$100 worth of silver.
You'd have to pay the $80 capital gain on that, or 80% capital gain.
And somebody, Hipshot in the chat room said Roosevelt again. For those unfamiliar, I think it was Roosevelt, but it was definitely in that time
he started.
They confiscated the gold and I think silver also, or it might have been just gold.
I'm not sure.
Of the American citizens.
That's right. And they made it illegal to buy or to own gold.
Now, and that was, I mean, people should have saw the warning signs then from the Federal Reserve and should have, been screaming bloody murder and, had this all changed around, so it was never a problem even when I was born. But it didn't happen. The corruption got worse and worse, and, the people continued to...
But that was one thing I asked the gentleman I was speaking to. Well, what about just outright confiscation? And he said it's possible, but it's unlikely, more like guns, because people would not necessarily turn over their gold or their silver, especially because of the information, because of shows like ours. And not to give us any credit, but the awakening is here, and people understand now the concept of fiat currency. They understand that the dollar is merely an IOU you're holding. And it's only worth something because we've agreed that it's worth something. So that said, there could very well be a plan in the works by the globalist and this government, the American government, especially right now, to tax the metals. And one more thing, I did speak with somebody, and we're going to be getting into this next week. Somebody on the very close to my source with DHS, and I'm trying to develop more information about this, ladies and gentlemen. More about Obama not going anywhere and the preparations he is making with Valerie Jarrett and others not to vacate on Election Day. I just want to say that it's pretty serious.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit crazy. We're going to be going to phone calls, just a couple of headlines that if we don't get to, I'd like you guys to at least see. Army reports grim milestone in troop suicides. There's a record number of suicides this year for the U.S. troops overseas in Afghanistan, and they are trying to figure out why. They're not sure. Last year there was a total of 283. They say already this year there's already been 187 in active duty and reserves so far in 2012, and they have an investigation, but their troops are used as guinea pigs, as Henry Kissinger said. Military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy. That's how they look at these
exactly
soldiers. Also, Parents or students. Parents unhappy with new RFID badges. Some students and parents aren't pleased with the pilot program by the Northside Independent School District in San Antonio that requires students to wear an RFID-equipped student ID tag. The one student said it's huge, it's like a dog collar, it's ridiculous, there's no need for it. But this is getting into the RFID culture that we will be seeing because RFID everything is coming, RFID medication. I saw an article where they're putting RFID chips in medication. Also, this article you guys must read. Agencies tamp down speculation over hollow point ammo purchases. This is the government trying to play down their purchase of so many bullets. Now, with that, we're going to go to calls. We're going to go to the phones right now. I'm going to post this also in chat. Pulled over on the highway by cops in a tank. Nothing wrong here.
You know, that before you get into that, I just wanted to tell you that and I know this is where you're going with that, but that was a photograph that went viral in the internet. That was someone who was actually helping that guy change a flat tire. You know that, right?
Well, I got this from somebody sent this in the chat room, but this is an example of what you can expect to see. Just see the picture in that article.
That tank right there, okay,
but
is helping that vehicle.
Regardless of the reason it's there.
No, I know that's where you're going, but I just want to let people know that not everything is what it appears to be.
But what we do see is these tanks, these military personnel and vehicles all over the place.
And what's the big question people should be asking, like you, what's it doing on the road?
Right.
There you go.
All right, we're going to go to some phone calls. This area code here, no area code, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, let's take that one. That could very, very well be an international call. This person's been waiting the longest. Go ahead.
Okay, area code 000. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann report.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I live in Mexico, so I'm on Skype.
Okay, welcome.
Oh, thanks. I'm just calling the guy that called from Wales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got me interested in calling. I don't usually call in, but I sure appreciate you guys, and I pray for you. I pray for all the saints and Christians and Steve Whale. I've been listening to him for 4 years now and been awake. But something that the other gentleman said about the Olympics,
yes,
kind of goes along, I think, the impressions that I've been getting, like Tom Horn's book, Apollyon Rising.
Yes.
Because at the Olympics, it's all about worshiping Zeus. And it came to my mind after I'd been praying that was the birth, the big, giant, baby, creepy thing. Did you guys hear about that?
Someone else told me about that. I didn't see it or hear more than what you just described. Can you describe that for us and for the listeners?
Yeah, it was this whole ritual. There's very little on the Internet. I've only been able to gather bits and pieces. But it was this big, giant baby, and all around it was like the gentleman in Wales was saying, the children in the hospital bed and the nurses from the national health care system. So what came to me after a lot of prayer and everything was the baby was Apollo, the son of Zeus. So it was like they gave birth to the Antichrist.
Oh.
And then they were using the national health care system, and I think they're going to do that to put the RFID chip.
Yeah.
Like Obamacare. So they're going to use all these national health care systems to chip everyone.
I agree.
Interesting. You know, I heard about what you described. I heard about it, but not in the context that you just stated, and I'm glad you described it that way.
And
caller, said that. They said, like, giving birth to the New World Order, but that happened, you know, back in 2008. So I think it was the actual Antichrist, Apollyon.
Right.
Apollo.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that's what the whole ritual and the cauldrons and the witches and the everything was all to give birth to the Antichrist and his beast system.
Very interesting observation and very good observation, and I want to thank you so much for that. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, you added a level of context that I was not getting before, because I had heard about that, and I couldn't quite figure out. And then when the gentleman from Wales talked about the compendium or the collage of the of the sick bed and the children, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So,
and it was all the nurses and doctors from the national health care system.
Now, this was in addition to that march, right? Of the nurses. There was like a parade of nurses. Was that?
Yeah, but all around, when they brought the giant baby out,
yes.
all around was like hundreds and hundreds of beds with these children in it and these little lamps and these nurses and doctors around the bed.
Okay.
And so I think, you know, in March they're supposed to require with Obamacare the RFID chip.
That's correct.
Her Pastor Begley has been, I don't know if you're familiar with Pastor Paul Begley. He is a close friend of the show. He has done a lot of research and some YouTube videos on that very subject, the March 23rd date, I think it is, or March 16th, search Pastor Paul Begley, and you can...
I've heard of him through Steve Quayle and through the circle of friends that you guys have. And,
yes, and on Homeland...
I remember that. But I just thought I'd add that because nobody was really putting it in perspective with Tom Horn's, you know, Apollyon Rising, and I think I saw that.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that perspective and context. I was looking for something like that, and you provided it perfectly. God bless you, caller.
Thank you. God bless you, too. Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you. God bless you, and enjoy that weather in Mexico.
Well, I'll tell you, with Mexico and Wales, this is good.
Yeah, we got a lot of people
here
on hold. I think we're just going to, since it's a fantastic Friday, we're going to take calls. The rest of the show, we're going to try and get to everybody on hold.
Let's do it.
So we're going to go to area code 414. You're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello?
Hello there.
Hi, Doug. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
How you guys doing this evening?
Terrific. How are you doing?
Great. I'm Dejanay from Milwaukee, and I'm calling in response to the caller who called from Wales and the lady who had just called, responding to his call.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the Olympics and the fact that the stadium where the Olympics took place was actually built over London's last nuclear waste site. So the article I read regarding that was that something may have taken place without us knowing, and maybe we'll know after some time goes by, based on the reaction of people. They were saying in the article that there was something, maybe some radioactivity that still may be active, or they might make active again or something like that. If people would leave and maybe some time would pass and all of a sudden people would start complaining about, having colds, or not just your average cold, but something really bad in the lungs, or, something like that could take place.
Absolutely.
I found that was very interesting.
Yes, I was, when that gentleman from Wales did call and mention that possibility, and I have heard about the stadium being built over the the nuclear stockpile or nuclear waste, as you say.
Right.
That concerned, why there? Of all places, why there?
I don't know.
Was that stadium not built specifically for the Olympics, or was that stadium there already? Do we know this?
I'm not sure, but one thing I do know that there is a lot of symbolism, even where the track participants, where they ran through Hyde Park, all those different places where they ran, I read, had some symbolatry as well. Luciferian, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Praising to different gods and goddesses, and I mean every aspect of it. It's totally unreal how they,
Is this new to the 2012 Olympics, or aside from the regular symbolic aspects that we're used to seeing with the Olympics, is this a new color? Is this like, was 2012 like a I don't know, something a lot more in your face, a lot bigger, or was this always there but we just never noticed it?
I think it's blatant. I've never really followed the Olympics, in the past, but something about the hype from about 2012 along with everything, miscellaneous from the Olympics, like almost every event has something to do with 2012, the Mayans expecting their gods to come back, everything under the sun, the commercials. It was like everything. And then those two ceremonies, the beginning and the closing ceremonies, they were a hot mess. I mean, in your face, definitely.
That's right.
Definitely in your face. And then I read something about London is supposed to be New Jerusalem or something like that.
There's theories on that. Anywhere from, it depends on what religious. I mean, there's different religions have different. They think Mormons think the New Jerusalem will be like Missouri or St. Louis or something like that. And
to me, that New Jerusalem aspect was more of a I don't even want to call it a symbolic thing. More of a mocking thing than anything else.
Definitely.
Mocking God, again, which it goes along with that satanic aspect of the ceremonies. Now, my wife thinks I'm nuts. She looks at that and she says, well, what are you talking about? And I'm saying, look, right here, and probably some of the listeners think, oh, you guys are really out there, but you see it, so
Right. One last thing, then I'll let you guys go. Anything about the sulfur smells? I mean, everybody's even I myself have been smelling something really strange, just in the air. I don't know what sulfur really smells like, but it's a totally different smell. I've checked in my home. There's no gas leak or carbon monoxide. My detector is okay. Just really strange. And on Facebook, I hear people talking about, who live in Michigan and different places in the Midwest, and they're smelling sulfur, and even the animals and insects are acting strange.
No, look, that's a great question. Joe's got a biblical passage that relates to that, but I've got to tell you, we've together talked to numerous people who have been talking about that very smell you're smelling, like a rotten egg smell. Believe me, when you sulfur, when you smell it. And I talked to Steve Quayle about this as well. I've talked to other people. There is no, as far as I'm concerned, there is no physical reason for this smell. There's no factory that is emitting this. There is no, there's no practical or physical reason for this. So we look to the Scripture, and the Scripture passages do reference.
Well, what they do reference is
the demonic,
the fire and brimstone that will fall upon. I mean, there's several references to sulfur in the Bible.
Right.
You got Genesis 19:24, Deuteronomy 29:23. It's in Job, Psalms, Isaiah. But basically, sulfur is associated with the smell of death or the smell of the
fire and brimstone.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, and I'll tell you this. Again, you might think I'm nuts. My wife could think I'm nuts. Listeners might think I'm nuts. And maybe I am nuts, but I got to tell you,
demonic portals are opening. You know.
Oh, definitely. Look, I am a dreamer. I've had plenty different dreams. I've even seen things. I've even had scratches on my chest that were weird, that were never there before, and I do believe, in fact, that the door to, well, the many doors to the different gates and dimensions are definitely opening up.
Can I give you my wife's telephone number? Would you give her a
Sure.
All right. Well, no, and we're going to keep reporting on this and watching this as well, but we certainly appreciate this. Anything else?
That's it. I've sent you quite a few, not quite a few, but maybe 3 or 4 different emails. I know you said you were like 2 weeks behind, but check them out. I've sent some pretty, some deep information. Some you may have already, read about or something, but check them out when you get a chance.
And in fact, watch for my reply this weekend. I've got them. I know. I've got them, and thank you so much. I very much appreciate what you've sent. So.
Oh, you're welcome, and God bless you guys. I pray for you every day and every night that you grow stronger in the Lord and that He will protect you guys.
Well, God bless you.
Wow,
thank you for calling, and thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. You have a great night.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's great.
Yeah, we're going to move right along. Sorry, guys, we got a whole bank of callers, so if we can kind of keep them quick, and we'll try to get through all these. Area code 607. You're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
This is RK from Central New York. Can you hear me?
Oh, I'll tell you, we can hear you. I know. Central New York.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's good.
Oh, what's on your mind?
That's good. Thank you, gentlemen. I've been on hold for over an hour, and
I know,
I've listened to everything, but I'll make a couple points here about the blog talk thing. Tried to connect to the chat room, and it gives me a connecting thing that never connects. And when I try to comment, it sends me to Facebook, and I'm wondering why that's happening. But I'm sure it's a BTR thing, right?
Yes.
And let me just say this: it says on air, 24 hours, 24 minutes remaining. You might want to correct that.
Yeah, we have no control over the blog talk stuff. Some days, like today's the 17th, it'll say the episode from today is on the 18th.
But time is short. I don't really want to discuss that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you for that.
The other thing is everybody's talking about all this stuff, and they're not talking about us in the United States, And supposedly we have a Russian invasion coming. Is that correct?
Well, ultimately, now it depends on who you listen to, but ultimately we believe, or at least I believe, the financial collapse first.
No. Don't start with that. Just stick with that, because there are some other things that I want to bring up to your attention.
Okay, yeah. As far as
that have to do with that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. For example, have you seen the trailer to the movie called Gray State?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Good.
In
have
fact,
you seen the incident in South Africa with the miners recently, and the dog shooting in New York City next to the homeless guy?
Yes. The dog shooting, not the not the African thing. Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, you've seen that. Maybe your listeners haven't. I had a long discussion with a radio host a few days ago. We discussed a lot of things. And my basic question to him was, why all this and not concentrating on the evidence when we're supposedly being invaded by Russian forces? And let me bring this to your attention here. You need to step away from this Israel, attacking Iran. If we're being invaded ourselves, there is give me the evidence of an invasion by Russians. And let me this. I researched this. I have spent the last 2 months of my life, wasting my life researching this. And you can add an hour being on hold to this program, because I've done a lot of research here, and nobody is answering what I'm questioning. What I'm questioning is, if the Russians are invading, where are they? Are they being inserted? Supposedly they're being inserted by ground and air from Canada. Okay? Well, what is the location of the enemy forces in Canada? What are their most likely routes of travel? You know, these are all questions we should be asking ourselves. Are we prepared to be? I mean, to what state or county are they going? If they're moving at night, as John Moore says, okay, evacuating bases from the coast and rearranging things. You know as well as I do that if they move at night, they only have 8 hours of movement. Well, how are they refueling? You know, how are they bivouacking during the day? Where are the most likely border crossings? Where are the roads that could support, you know, light armor and light mechanized infantry? We're talking about a division of Russian troops invading from Canada. Okay, I mean, come on. What, you know?
Who's
what
talking
are the
about
alternate crossings? You know, they're talking about Minnesota. You know, Minnesota has a 547-mile border that stretches across Manitoba and Ontario, and you've got, let me see here, you've got at least 8 border crossing sites. Now, if they're not using those, where are they coming from? And if they're being inserted at night by aircraft, and you know, where are they going? Just makes no sense to me.
No, wait a second. Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you doubting the fact that we have Russian troops, Spetsnaz troops, in a cooperative military effort, training with American troops in the United States?
Well, you're phrasing your words carefully, Hagmann. What I'm saying is that we may have foreign troops in this country, but to say that we're being invaded, why isn't anyone doing anything about it? If we're being invaded by a force the size of the 2nd Marine Division, a mechanized light infantry division from the north, from Canada, where are these troops? How are they being sustained? How are they being transported? This is, you know, I just don't understand it. And as far as the one caller, which would be classified as hearsay as far as military pay stubs go, and they're called LESs, by the way, leave and earning statements, and they list combat pay, hazard pay, training pay, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, I don't understand. You're giving people so much information that they're in an information overload.
You want us to shut up?
You can add an
Do you want us to shut up? Do you want us to shut up?
I think that you can't provide evidence. As soon as you provide evidence, well, John Moore is saying, well, we'll wait until Monday and we'll provide you evidence. If you're being invaded,
care what John Moore says. You understand me? I don't know who John Moore is outside of what people tell me on this program. Now, I'm going to tell you something. We don't talk over people. We don't disrespect people. But I'll tell you, we expect the same in return.
Yeah, and I'm a Jermite caller because I really don't appreciate, you know, the tone and the interruptions and the way.
It's a different call.
And I just want to address this though. When you call the show, we just ask that you be respectful. We'll have a two-way conversation. If there's something you don't like, you know, just please state it politely.
Yeah,
we'll address it. We're moving on.
Let's go.
Area code 347. You're on with the Hagmann and Hagmann report.
Yeah, hey, how are you?
Good. Hey.
It's Phil. How you doing?
Good.
What you should have asked the gentleman that was just on the phone was, what about all the base closure commissions that took place in the 90s and in the early Bush years when he closed dozens of military bases across the country? Yes. Did they sell off all that real estate, or did they keep it in trust to somebody else?
Well, yeah. You know, look, there's a lot of anomalies here that we're dealing with, Phil.
Oh, I know.
Look, and here's the thing: we don't have all the answers. We never profess to have.
Why?
What's that?
No, neither do I. If I had all the answers, I would be God.
Yes.
You know, but in reality, the way I see things and I mean, I talked to a friend of mine the other day. I was walking the dog. He flashed his lights and he pulled down his window and said, "Hey, Phil, how you feeling?" He says, "When are they sending out this Droga checks?" I said, "I don't think I'm ever going to get a Droga check." You know? And so I said to him, I asked him, I said, let's look at it this way. When the shit hits the fan, what side are you going to be on?
Yeah, we'll edit that.
And I said to him, are you going to be on the side of the gun takers, or are you going to be side on the federal side? Which side are you going to be on? He said, I'm going to be on the right side. I said, but what's the right side and what's the wrong side? You got to ask yourself that. Yeah. I said, whoever thought we would see a ring of steel of cameras tied into facial recognition software? I mean, that's Big Brother's wet dream, I said to him. You know? And he said, Phil, you're right. I said, ask yourself where the pension systems are going. Why are people pulling out of the financial markets? Why is gold being manipulated? Ask yourself all these questions, you know? Right. And say to yourself, what's going to happen with your kids? You know?
Well, that's the thing, Phil. Look, you know, if not us, let's do it for our kids. Let's be there.
That's what I told him. I said, okay, I'm 47. You're in your late 30s. You just came on the job right after 9/11. Everyone knows me in the community. Everyone took part in getting me to a hospital at some time or another to keep me alive, to see the day, you know, today.
Right.
And I said, you know, and everybody knows I'm a patriot and I love this country, and they also know I hate what it stands for right now. I told them that. I said, you got to take a side. I said to him, and I said, don't be on the side of the takers, because I don't hate you. And even if that happens, I'm not going to hate you, but I'm going to do everything within my power, and like every other Constitution-loving American, to get your gun from you.
Well,
and I said that to him, and he said, Phil, that's not what it's about. I said, yes, it is. And I said, why don't you go to oathkeepers.org? It's a lot of sheriffs belong to it, a lot of ex-mil like me, a lot of firefighters, EMTs, paramedics. People actually give it to him. Why don't you go look it up? You know? And read some books by Ayn Rand. I think you'll get some decent, you know, which they don't teach and profess in the schools.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You know, so he says, Phil, you're right. So I said, just look into it. You know, and if you see me flash the lights, I'll walk over to the car and we'll talk. You know?
Yeah.
You know, and I agree with him on that, and we agree with each other. And I said, well, talk amongst yourselves. I said, I could get you a bunch of DVDs, you know, from a couple of rabble-rousers like Alex+Jones, who could wake your eyes up there, high quality, you know? A lot of things are going on. You got to read between the lines. I told them, look at the UN documents, Agenda 21. They have it out for us, because we're the only free country, well, semi-free country is what I said, left. And that's how I say it to people. And what's going to happen is once we go, they'll be free to bring about their New World Order nightmare. Whether you believe in Bible prophecy or not, it doesn't matter. That's what's going to happen.
So
whether you believe it's...
go ahead,
guys.
Look, you paid your dues, and we thank you for it. God bless you. Thanks for the information, and thanks for being on the right side. Okay.
Yeah.
We got to move on, my friend.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, bud.
All right.
We have more callers tonight than I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and I apologize. I apologize for this. Let's go to the 307 area code. 307, you're on. Thank you so much for holding. You're on with Doug and Joe.
Hey, Doug and Joe. How
Hey.
you guys doing tonight?
Good. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, first of all, may God bless you guys.
We'll accept that.
God bless you too.
Well, I guess I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm a Marine, and I'm saying we got either Nibiru, we got a financial collapse, we got strikers running all over the place, we got light armor in support of heavy armor, and then we got troops moving to support the light armor and the heavy armor, and we've got the Olympics, we got all these distractions. You ever hunt quail?
No.
You know, when quail fly up, when a covey of quail fly up, they don't fly up like pheasants. They fly up in every dang direction you can think of, and it makes it really hard to pick out one to shoot at. And I think that's what all of us are doing right now. I mean, you get what I'm saying? We've got the Nibiru talk.
Yeah.
We got the MF Global. We just got so much going on that we're focusing on that, and then and that's good. And you guys are investigators, and that's what you should be doing. And all of us should be keeping an eye on the ball, so we can put all the information together and make a very good judged assessment of what's going on. All right.
Right.
But I'm going to go with Greg Everson and Hawk, and I'm going to say prepare. I mean, I'm going to say food, weapons, and gold, okay? Well, ammunition is also in there. But what I'm going to say to everybody that I haven't heard anyone talk about, and this is me being a Marine and an operator and having nothing but operators for friends. This is, I never call into these kind of shows. I listen all the time. I love you guys. I love Steve Quayle. And I'm nervous about calling in, not because I'm nervous to be on the air, because I'm just nervous, okay?
Because of I know why.
Okay, now, what I'm going to tell you is these people need to get, it doesn't matter what's going on. We got all these distractions, right? We got this covey of quail flying up, and we're trying to shoot one. Forget that. Step back 2 steps. Get your food. Get something to defend yourself, and learn how to use it. Now where I'm going to go right now with you is, you know how to aim, you know how to shoot, you know how to put a new magazine in when you're shooting at a target at 25 yards. Everyone should have a primary weapon and a secondary weapon, and everyone should know how to clear part malfunctions and double feeds and mags that aren't feeded fully, and they should know how to change them. And you don't have to go to the range and take these weapons and shoot every round in the clip and then change mags, and you don't have to be conspicuous, and you don't have to freak out people at the range. Go out in the country, put 4 or 5 rounds in there. Have your buddy load them so you don't know how many is in there. I guess what I'm saying is, like, Gregory would be the best one. I think he knows what I would be talking about.
Okay.
But, I mean, whatever is coming. Now, we know the government, okay, we've ordered 15 years worth of rounds for the DHS. I'm not saying that they're going to attack the American people. I'm not saying that they may be defending against the Russians, the Chinese. They may be prepared for civil unrest because of financial collapse. They may be prepared because Nibiru is coming. We know they know something's coming. There's no reason in the world they would order 1.5 billion rounds unless something's coming our direction. We don't. We are not privy to that information, but we know that they are preparing. And where I'm led to talk to you guys right now is we need to be preparing the same that they're preparing. Whether it's against us or with us, we don't 100% know that information. I'm trying to choose my words carefully, okay?
I can tell.
Okay. I say get your food, get a primary weapon, get a secondary weapon. Don't just learn how to shoot it straight. Don't learn how to load mags in it. Learn how to clear malfunctions in it. Learn how to take that weapon apart. Learn how, if you got a primary weapon down and they're coming something's coming at you, whether it be looters or red Chinese or Koreans or heck, for all we care, like Alex Jones says from Planet Google Snap or whatever he says. You need to learn how to clear that weapon. And before you clear that weapon, if there's still a situation in front of you, you need to be able to pull that secondary weapon and get the cover so you can clear and get your primary.
Now, let me
I'm
ask
going
you.
into too much.
Yeah, I know. Let me ask you something. Okay, I know you're choosing your words carefully. I know you have to choose your words carefully based on, I know you have to choose your words carefully. Let me just leave it at that. And I know that you know more than what you're saying. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
All right. Give me a timeline.
Well, it's short, and I don't know 100%. I don't know. I mean, like Steve Quill, he knows the timeline, but he doesn't know the time.
Right.
Okay. All I'm saying is we've got all this thrown up in front of us. Everyone's like concentrating on the TSA. Everyone's concentrating on Nibiru. You got that whole group that's all they concentrate on. You go back to your private detective world and go, okay, let's just go back to the basics. Okay, if you got so much stuff on the board that you can't pick out and put the pieces together, come back to the basics and go, okay, well, we know this, right? They've ordered 1.5 billion rounds of ammunition, which is 15 years of previous ammunition ordered. What do they need it for? It doesn't matter what they do, what you think they need it for, whether it be Nibiru, whether it be the New Madrid fault, whether it be the Russians are. I mean, you know how much stuff is thrown on the wall.
That's right.
Instead of trying to guess what's thrown on the wall, just prepare for whatever it is. It's coming off the wall. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying get back to the basics. Get your food up. Get your weapons up, and learn how to use that weapon. You don't learn how to just go out there and hit a watermelon at 50 yards. Learn how to change mags in that thing. Learn how to change them fast. And if you can't change them fast, learn how to dump that weapon and pull your secondary so you can get that primary back up and running. I mean, Greg Everson probably knows what I'm talking about. For some reason, his name keeps popping in my head right now.
Yep.
I think people should just quit focusing. I mean, let's not. I don't want to say. You can tell my head's about to explode. I just got so much. I just don't want to.
No, I understand. Look, I understand. Your message.
I don't say stop focusing on the TSA. I don't say stop focusing on the Olympics. But I think a lot of this stuff is just like if you're hunting quail. When quail come up, they come up and they go so many directions that they do it on purpose. It's God's gift to them, so that it's really hard to focus on which quail to shoot.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's what's going on right now. We got so much info coming at us right now. Everyone is trying, and the human brain loves to focus because really there is no such thing as multitasking, okay? There's no such thing. Our brain just switches gears really, really fast.
Good, because I can't multitask. Okay, that's good. Okay, no,
So what you do, what your brain does is it actually switches from one gear to the next real fast. You can't be thinking of 3 things at one time. You can only be thinking of one. I mean, I know a lot of people say that, you know what I mean.
Right.
Yes. So they know how the human brain works. It works like that. Mm-hmm. So if you can throw up Nibiru, you can throw up New Madrid fault, you can throw up the Olympics, and you can throw up, you know what I mean? You're going to take the 20% of the people that are awake, and you're going to take 10% of those and have them focused on one issue out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not only focused, but arguing over the little
small stuff,
in between there.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. So, guys, this is what I'm telling you. Focus like a laser beam on preparing your stuff. It don't matter what's coming. It's coming. Okay? Get your stuff ready. Learn how to use your gear. Learn who your friends are. Learn who's going to watch your back. Learn who's going to protect you and who you can protect.
Stop right there.
Okay,
stop right there. You said learn who's going to protect you. Is the military, in your estimation, is the military going to back us and like our sheriffs and what have you?
My guys are.
Could you?
But,
I mean,
you know what? Okay. Here's what you got to look at. Okay, you got racist people. You got whatever people. You got people in categories. Well, Marines are the same dang gum way. We are awake as the rest of the general public, all right? You take your whole audience, and you figure out who's awake in that audience. Well, you can't generalize and say the Marines are going to take everyone's guns and they're going to confiscate and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. We got as many people awake as everybody else has.
Okay.
And there's the same amount of patriots throughout. And I got other friends. I got Delta friends. I got SEAL friends. I got a lot of people in the operation community that are awake. Okay. I don't call in shows like this. I just felt like I needed to. It was just bugging my head to hear these people calling. It's like, how many Russians are here? How many? I don't care. It doesn't matter. All we do know, all you guys know, is that our country is arming to the dadgum teeth to defend against what, okay? Now, whether they're with us or they're against us, if they're that concerned to arm up that much, I understand prepping, and we need to prep too, but you need to learn how to use that gear. This is what I'm going to stress on. I've heard people say, get your guns, get your food, get your gold. Learn how to clear hard malfunctions. Learn how to switch to your secondary weapon. Learn how to cover someone who switched to their secondary weapon so they can clear hard malfunctions and get their primary weapon running again.
Okay,
These are the things I'm talking about.
Caller, we're out of time, and we should have got to you earlier. I apologize. Look, good information.
We really appreciate your call, and the message that I got from it is there's so much disinfo and distractions being thrown out into the truth movement, the people that are awake, that they're missing what's right in front of them and what's imminent.
And what we need to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you something. I think a lot of people received your message very loud and clear, and I think you were supposed to call in tonight. And I got your message loud and clear. And
all right, guys. Well, God bless. I keep praying for you, Steve Quayle, Hawk. I probably won't call again.
Well, I hope you do. We hope you do. Please keep in touch. God bless you, sir.